I have often wondered about the nature of dreams. Ironically, I often stay up late at night thinking about my dreams until I fall asleep. This shot of metacognition was spurred on a few months back when I looked into lucid dreaming and finally began to fully control my dreams. Fully, at least to some extent. This concept is explored in many works of fiction where aneronauts, or dreamwalkers, seek deeper meaning in their own minds. Often, these people have lucid nightmares and see things they probably shouldn't. But let's go back to the real world for a second. How does today's topic fit in with this discussion, and why did I decide to make a video on it? Well, two main reasons. Firstly, in our modern world, we see a lot of people not having any sort of not improving or degrading their position in life, they're just floating through life. Having no meaning in one's life is often worse than being literally evil, because at least evil has some sort of reason or purpose, the most human condition. People don't kill for fun, mostly, but people who are nihilistic and apathetic, neo-nihilism I need to specify, have given up on their search for meaning, which is what Inception, today's film, truly deals with, though not obvious on the first viewing. Inception is a story about a man coming to grips with his place in life and the meaning of it all, and the process by which he does so. The whole film can essentially be summarized as a physical representation of loss and acceptance of that loss. In order to understand what is going on in this film, one should ideally start with some knowledge of dreams and lucid dreaming. So let's start with that. Dreams, as used in this essay, means a brainwave pattern during REM sleep, or rapid eye movement sleep, that mimics reality and exists separate from normal reality as humans experience it. Here the laws of the universe can be altered and changed, hidden knowledge can be uncovered, and much more, and all this is in the real world, in the relation to the dream. Many studies have been conducted on and with lucid dreamers, people who can freely control their dreams rather than just experience them in the first or third person, as many of you listening or watching probably do. Dreams are not necessarily, in reality, a separate domain that have separate laws of physics and whatnot. They can be normal and fully explained with different patterns of brainwaves and other neuroscience that I forgot from Psych 1. They are not a supernatural element within the world like ghosts or goblins. They are a normally mysterious phenomena. Side note, some also experience dreams in second person, as in from the perspective of another entity, but that is rare and I personally have never experienced it. If you have experienced it, please let me know and we can get you an interview. Inception is a film that needs no introduction, but I know none of you are over the age of 10 and have therefore never seen it or were even around when it came out, so Inception is a film where the main characters enter the dreams of other people and extract information from them. Of course, these characters are given the extremely creative name of extractors. Cobb, the main character played by Leonardo DiCaprio, has been given the task of extracting information from one Mr. Sato, a Japanese capitalist. He then fails and is captured at a rooftop by him and his goons. During the opening sequence, much information is revealed to us. For instance, how the outside world can have an impact on the dream, seeing as the Japanese villa floods when Sato falls in the water, and how there can be a dream within a dream, evidenced by the false awakening from the party at the Japanese villa, the dingy desert apartment. The next part of the film, Cobb is gathering his people, now working for Sato in order to incept an idea into the mind of a trust fund kid, Fisher. Sato and presumably a bunch of other guys want this kid to break up his father's business empire. Fisher does not have a good relationship with his father, so he will not easily give up the rights to his fortune. It would be the only thing his father ever gave him. Cobb gathers 3 men and an architect, Ariadne. Architects, much like very powerful lucid dreamers, have the capability to change elements about the dream willingly. Architects are specifically chosen from people such as real-life architects and engineering students in order to make the dream as efficient as possible for the goals of the extractors. The extractors extract information, of course. So how do they extract such information in a place where there is no direction of up or down even? This is how. First, the architect designs the dream in a semi-believable fashion to trick the dreamer's subconscious into believing that they are either in real life or in a normal dream at the most. They then create a safe or some locked element or room in the dream which the dreamer's subconscious will automatically fill with whatever they want to keep secret, logically. The extractors then break into this room or safe, avoid the projection of the dreamer's subconscious manifesting as guards or people, and take whatever slip of paper or other article is in there, understand and digest it, and then they wake up. They wake up when they die. Now that we have the main elements of the film explained, the rest of it is very simple except for the end parts. Everything is going along the lines explained above, except the waking up part. It turns out the sedative used to put Fisher to sleep was actually engineered so powerful that it will put the dreamer further place called limbo if they die rather than waking them up. Fisher and Sato end up going there. Fisher gets out immediately, but Sato, due to the time-dilating effects of the dream state, ends up staying down in limbo for, based on the age his character appears as, more than 40 years. Since Cobb has spent 50 years in limbo before with his dead wife, long story, and is about 35 or 40 years old here, add another 40 years, that makes Cobb physically 40, but his consciousness at an estimated age of 130 years, older than the oldest physical human to ever live. Anyway, they get out and Cobb is either still in a dream to reunite with his kids or whatever, or not. It doesn't honestly matter anymore. Now that you have the main parts of the dream explained, let's get into the meaning of this film and how it relates to the meaning of life, or whatever I said at the beginning. So, of course, Inception is a film about loss and the way that people grieve. The main character loses his wife and spends the entire film all the way up to the end attempting to recreate her image or visage in a way that will accurately portray who she was in an attempt to fool himself into believing that she is still here with him. The film deals with the concepts of extreme guilt, as well as considering that Cobb discovered that incepting an idea or planting it into the mind of a person is possible because he did it to his wife in limbo. He says that he did it to convince her to commit suicide in limbo with him so that they would both wake up together in the real world. It actually worked too well, and she began to believe that the real world wasn't real either, and so she killed herself for realsies IRL. So how does a man deal with that kind of guilt, knowing that in some way, or in a lot of ways, his wife's death is on his hands and he is entirely to blame, even if he was only trying to help? The film deals with the meaning of reality and, by extension, the meaning of life in general. Is life real? And in what reality, in the first place, is a life in the middle of limbo worth living? And does it have any sort of value comparable to life in the real world? More than that, what constitutes the real world? The real world is supposed to be what feels real, the best descriptor possible, as all others also apply to the fake reality inside the dream, including this one. So, feels real. Are we also in the dream? Are we in the dream right now? Are we in a dream right now? Or are we not? The simulation hypothesis, in a way, says yes, we are. And evidence shows that many ancient figures and great scientists believe this. Case in point, the Buddha. He says that the entire world is a dream, literally in this sense, controlled by some mysterious entity. Perhaps a dream of the universe itself, which Lovecraft believed, or at least wrote down. His sayings are well preserved, the Buddha's sayings are well preserved, in books like the Dhammapada, and his beliefs are inspired by many other religious texts, like the Vedas and the Bhagavad Gita. This idea is probably not new, and the idea of a simulation has been thrown around for so long by so many intellectual figures that it has a deep root in the human condition, sort of. In the film, the characters all complete their tasks under heavy time distortion, not dilation, as I previously incorrectly stated, which is what happens to space around black holes. Rather, distortion is the term that is correct here, because the same amount of time has still passed in base reality. They get put under by a serum that heavily sedates them to the point where they can no longer wake up by normal means. And if they die in this heavily sedated dream, instead of waking up from the dream, they wake up in a deeper level of that dream, called limbo, the fourth layer down. It is a dream within a dream, and a dream within a dream. I think I got that right. It is raw, unfiltered subconscious, and very dangerous to the dreamer. There's things down there that you cannot unsee, like staring at a mirror in the dark for an hour. Traumatic, repressed memories permanently burn into your brain. Terrifying images that burn into your retinas. Evidence shows that time down there runs so slow that the dream in limbo effectively lasts forever, with Cobb saying that the dream for him lasted about 50 years until he forced himself and his wife to wake up by unaliving themselves via train in the dream. Down there, inception of an idea can be done by hiding the idea inside that same safe that the subconscious stores secrets inside. Essentially, reverse extraction, or inception. Essentially, in the film, the idea of an idea, or incepting an idea into another person's head, is a sort of virus. A mimetic virus rather than a contagion, sort of, as is often called on the internet. It's something that affects you mentally, not physically. Ideas that are dangerous, like the information required to build a nuclear weapon, are called cognitohazards, and ideas that are even more dangerous, conceptually devolving or whatever, right, are called, there's that I cannot even tell you about them. If you know, you know, right? And I have been victim to these. So don't go looking for them, right? Warning, learning about them means there's no way to unlearn a cognitohazard, right? Take it from me, who's been permanently scarred by such cognitohazards. It's not like gross or terrifying. It's literally something that it's a mind virus. I'll leave it at that. So steer clear of these. It's like there's no vaccination against these. You will catch it every time, right? The film makes you wonder, what if Fisher was the head of a company that was saving the environment or develop a wonder drug? What if he then dissolved the company, would the idea that he was incepted be such a powerful cognitohazard that it would be more dangerous than a nuclear weapon? These are the things that we as humans need to decide in the coming future, where ideas such as dreamwalking into other people's dreams might be commonplace. Anyway, all the characters represent elements of society in real life. Cobb, for example, represents regret and living in the past for obvious reasons. And Ariadne represents the idea of the future being a student and a visionary architect and all. The other three extractors and Sato represent something much more complicated and different, however. Sato represents the ideals of the capitalist interloper, the shadow benefactor, the sort of Illuminati that controls things from the shadows. This is important to understand because the film has a prominent capitalist undertone. See, stay with me here. All the actions take place at the behest of the corporate interest. So whether you know it or not, the film is describing the powers that capitalists hold over the earth as they're able to violate a man's dreams. The man with slick back hair, I'll put his name up on screen right now because I forgot him. He represents the idea of change because he is the vector for it. Same as with the other guy. We'll call him Cray, and I won't even name the other dude because I forgot. Anyway, we'll call him Cray because he's the dude, he played that guy in that other movie about the London gangsters. Anyway, that wasn't too deep of an analysis, but hopefully it was good enough for you to understand the film is deeper than muscular man and kid from Titanic going into funny dreams and doing funny things. This film is very much applicable today, more than 10 years down the road, because it is about change. Change in a rapidly moving world is a given. Since the release of this film, we have had massive leaps in technology. For example, the iPhone, right, becoming prominent in the world, the return to the moon, the Chinese expansion into low Earth orbit, and geosynchronous orbit, and biofuels, remember those? Essentially, all these elements that can help us also make us more divided. Think, when I talked about these technologies, the first thing you probably thought was, why did he say China? I said China because it's the other. I'll leave it at that, right? They're against the United States, so these technological innovations are vectors for division. The film is about connection and how we need to get over things and face the challenges of tomorrow, right? All of what I just described was essentially Cobb dealing with his loss, right, of his wife, and be aware of them rather than fall into the problem of getting stuck inside the pleasure cube. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this comic sums up what Cobb was dreaming about the entire time in limbo, or rather what he wanted to be dreaming about in limbo after his wife died. Remember, boys, stay away from the pleasure cube. Thank you. Like and subscribe, share this video with everyone you know. Thank you, and good night.